On RCA Records, on 30 of Elvis's movie soundtracks, on television, and in concerts from 1954 until 1967, this legendary drummer was the backbone for the famous Presley beat. To quote Max Weinberg, who was the drummer of Bruce Springsteen and author of The Big Beat, he helped influence rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking with Mr. DJ Fontana. Welcome to the show, DJ. How are you?
Well, fine. I'm doing real good. The weather's still changed down here, but it's good.
What's the weather like? You're in Memphis.
Well, I'm in Nashville, actually.
Nashville?
Well, today it's raining at this point, and later on Saturday we're supposed to have sleet and snow and all that stuff, you know.
No kidding.
But yeah,
you get snow up there.
Yeah, well, it's been like that, I guess, for 3 or 4 weeks, actually.
Really?
No, not much, but just a little bit.
Well, you're one busy guy. You've been rubbing elbows in England, I hear, having supper with George Harrison.
Yeah,
and
had a little talk with George. The nicest man in the world. He really was.
And how about Paul McCartney? You've been producing and recording.
Well, we did a session, me and Scotty Moore, in New York back in March with Paul McCartney. But this is a conglomerate of people. Then we went to England and we did several other artists, which I can't remember the names at this point now. But I guess we did 5 or 6 over in England. And there was one guy from Italy, actually, Sugaroff, or something by that name. And the guy's a great singer.
Does he do Elvis?
No,
he's just his own.
No, what this was, it's a tribute to Sun Records, actually. And what the artists were doing, they were going back. I mean, they went way back. They were picking out tunes that they just kind of wanted to do, you know. Not by Elvis, or not necessarily, but all the artists, the black, the white, whatever, they just wanted to do them, and that's what they did. They kind of left up the tunes up to the artists.
Are you playing drums with these guys?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we had a good time with them guys. Really, I mean, they're all rock and rollers, you know.
Well, you've been producing and recording for a long time now, most of your career, actually.
Well, I just about quit a lot of it anymore. I've slowed down quite a bit, you know. I'm getting a little bit older, and sometimes it's a hassle trying to produce, and so I got rid of that about 4 or 5 years ago. I said, I don't want to do this again, you know. It's just too much trouble.
So what you've been up to lately is mostly these little projects, your own personal...
Yeah, well, I go out and do these Elvis things, you know, the Elvis impersonators, that we'll call them, you know, several times a year, and I go to Europe 2 or 3 times a year, and I keep busy, but like I say, I've tapered off a lot. I've had a couple of heart attacks, you know, so it's time to slow down a little bit.
Wow. How are you feeling now?
Well, today I feel pretty good. It's up and down. One day you feel okay, and the next day you don't feel good. So I think you get used to it after a little bit. Just keep on going, you know. But it's been fun. I've been having a pretty good time here the last few years.
Well, I'm glad you're sort of settling in, relaxing a bit, and doing what you finally want to do.
Yeah, well, that traveling, and especially going to Europe and Australia and New Zealand, and it just, you know, you're talking about 24 hours on an airplane sitting there. That's a little bit much.
Well, we're going to go back in time a little bit. In 1953, you were the staff drummer at the Louisiana Hayride.
Yeah, sure he was. Yeah.
And then I believe it was 1954 when you were introduced to that young man that started the ball of wax going for you.
Well, yeah, Elvis come in with Scotty and Bill. That was the band. They had a big band, a trio. And well, you know, back then, you know, basically that's all you really need, a little rhythm and a good singer up front. You know, like Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee and all those guys. They usually had about a 3-piece band, and they made more noise than anybody. You know, so everybody was happy.
Boy, I tell you, because you've worked with both Elvis and tribute artists, who's the tribute artist that made you feel the most like you were actually working with Elvis? Is there anybody in particular?
Well, nobody has come up to that standard yet. The most fun I've had, actually, was back in March when I did that McCartney thing, the Paul McCartney thing. He was, you know, of course, you know, he's a great artist, He sings, he does everything. He plays bass, plays piano, plays guitar. Whatever he wants to do, that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of left it up to him to see what he wanted to do, and we got on, you know, we finally nailed him down what he wanted to do, and so we just kind of went along with what Paul wanted to do, and it really worked out nice.
Well, he seems like a nice man.
He's one of the nicest fellows. Him and Harrison down there.
Mm-hmm.
That I've run into in a long, long time.
Tell me, playing behind these guys, the Elvis tribute artists.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're on the drums. You're watching the crowd from behind those drums. In your opinion, what makes one more appealing than the other?
Well, some of the guys, as you probably know, there's a bunch of them that really kind of look like Elvis in his young days, in his older day, and they do a good job. Every one of them do a good job, the ones I know. And I've seen some guys that are not as good, but that's because of the voice. Nobody's got that voice yet. They hadn't quite nailed that one yet. They look like him with the hair and the dye, the sideburns and stuff like that, and the grins and the movements. But some of them just don't have that voice yet. They got to grow up a bit, I think.
Which era of Elvis music do you like the best? Do you like the early years?
Well, I'd have to say that's what I did mostly, up to '68 there.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly all, then up to the movie tunes, which I can't say a lot to some of those. Some of the music was good, but it had to be done. And he said, "Boys, some of these tunes are awful, but we're going to do the best we can with them, and let's just do it right." So he never fluffed the tune off. He said, "Well, we'll just do the best we can with them."
As a band member who's traveled all over the world, have you had a chance to hear any good tribute backup bands?
No, not really. No, they're all kind of basically the same, Some of the guys play good, and some of them don't play as well. But, that's part of the act. You just go out, I listen to them, and they all sound pretty decent,
Mm-hmm. Are you surprised by this Elvis tribute phenomena, or did you see it coming?
No, you never guess it. After 40 years, it's still here. And it seems like to me, the places I've been, I guess in the last 10 years, it's getting bigger. We go, like I said, we go to Europe 2 or 3 times a year, and we're getting a lot of kids in there. We're getting a lot of teenagers in. And we're getting a lot of 7, 8, and 10-year-old kids in watching these shows. And we're doing mostly, we're doing all Elvis tunes,
Mm-hmm.
And these kids, they seem like they know, all the lyrics to them. Hold on, I got a knock on my door. Nobody ever knocks on my door.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
That's no problem.
I'm at the door.
Okay.
Well, I guess it wasn't. A mop fell.
Yeah.
I thought I heard somebody knock.
You got a cleaning lady stashed away over there that you're not telling us about?
No, I was waiting for the snow, and so I got the shovel and stuff on the porch. And one of them fell over. I said, well, I thought it was somebody knocking.
Well, for all of these guys out there, all these tribute artists, do you have any advice on how to make it?
Well, no, you got to, you're gonna have to get a manager of some type.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several of them around the country, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Lentino out of Chicago. He's got a lot of the artists, and he books a bunch of these guys all the time. And Danny usually gets the best of the bunch,
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with Danny, I guess, since 1978, I guess, off and on. And he's always got good artists, the Elvis guy.
He's a very talented man. Good friend. I like him very much. Oh, yeah, a lot of class.
He really has. I've been working with Danny for over 20 years probably by now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been fun, and he's always straight ahead, no problems. And whatever Danny says, well, that's where it is,
Do you find a lot of these guys ignore what they're supposed to do? Even if the manager tells him, they get a manager, and the manager says, I think you should do this or this. Do you find that the majority ignore what they say?
No, most of them will listen.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the new ones coming up, you're gonna have a few of those guys that nobody can tell them nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
What you do, you get rid of them and get some more.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those guys, not all of them, but some of them I do know that awfully hard-headed. And you really can't explain anything to them, so it's no use trying to explain anything to them. So you just don't hire them again. You know, it's just that simple.
Well, you've recorded with a lot of the big guys. You did, I believe, when Elvis was in the Army, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not record for Gene Vincent?
I worked with Gene.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Gene, he went to the Army. I worked for Gene about 30 days or so. We went up through Canada and all up in the West Coast out there. So it was fun. Yeah, I worked with Gene. He's one of the nicest guys, too. Another one, all those guys are nice people. You just get them by themselves, you know. Get them on one-on-one basis.
You sound like you liked everybody.
Well, I did.
You're a nice, easygoing guy there, baby.
Pardon?
You're a nice, easygoing man.
Well, you might as well be. You know, it's no use to fight amongst each other when you got to work with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hard on everybody, you know.
So it sounds to me like you appreciate musicians, you appreciate entertainers, and you even appreciate the Elvis tribute artist that's trying to do the best he can to keep Elvis's memory alive.
I think that's the whole secret. And the ones that I've, run into the last, few years, they would not do anything to make Elvis look bad. Not on purpose, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They all get out there with their jumpsuits or just the little suits or whatever, and they do the best job they can do. I watch a lot of them, and they really do a good job.
It must have been a thrill working with Elvis.
Well, it was fun. It was fun. You don't know what an artist is going to do,
mm-hmm.
but we had a great time working. Like the early show. So there wasn't that much security. We can come and go as we liked, and we didn't have to worry about policemen and badges, and everybody got badges and everybody backstage passes, but we didn't have that much to worry about. We all roll in one car, and we jump in that one car, and we take off to the next town.
Sound equipment must have been the pits back then, eh?
Oh, we didn't have any. No, we used whatever was in the theater or whatever, the auditorium or back of a anything. That's what we used, whatever they had. And some of them was awful, but you really couldn't hear him sing anyhow because of the kids hollering and screaming. So it didn't make no difference what the sound system was.
Yeah, I bet you.
They couldn't, you couldn't hear a word he said anyhow.
Well, it's certainly been a pleasure talking to you. I can't tell you what a thrill this is for me.
Well, I'm glad y'all called. I really am.